Okay, good afternoon. It is 4 p.m. on March the 13th. I'd like to call to order the meeting of the Bennington County Solid Waste Alliance. The first order of business would be reviewing the minutes, but we do not have a quorum. I don't believe it yet, do we?
I can do the math.
I don't do the votes
so.
there without
Yeah, no,
Manchester.
we need more than 50% total votes. So,
Yeah.
yeah, if Manchester shows up, then we'll probably be there. Manchester or Bennington, either shop.
Okay.
You can be here, but
Well, I will turn it over to you, Scott.
so then you should probably vote to table the minutes.
Yeah, okay.
Or
I'll make that motion to table.
Second? All in favor? Table
Aye.
minutes? Aye. All right. Okay,
Okay.
Scott.
Great. Hey, everybody, welcome.
Hey, Rob.
Happy spring. Hope everybody's been enjoying these last couple days of sun. Hopefully we will go through it all. So pretty quick reporting here. A couple things first. If you go to page 5 of the meeting packets, this is your basic report we give you every quarter, the quarterly expenses by town. This is what you should be expecting. There's a small change in the invoices. We have to make a correction for FY24 Part 1. I can show you where that appears on table 2. Basically, at the last meeting, we all agreed to keep the budget specifically for facility development limited to what was reimbursable under the grant terms of contract by the state of Vermont. So there were a couple of expenses, not very many, that were shifted, $381.50, from that into the quarter 1 budget. There was actually there was more expensive than that, but we also had to move an invoice. So I accidentally plugged an invoice into quarter 1 that was not supposed to be, that should have been in quarter 2. So it ended up being effectively that we only have a $381.50 discrepancy. So there's quarter 2 spending in one column, and then there's a separate column which will just explain what your invoice should look like once you receive that from the Solid Waste Alliance when that time period comes. If you move on to page 6, this shows our expenses by category for the first 2 quarters. Salary, benefits, outreach program, all that information is on track, spending approximately what we anticipate during the quarter. The household hazardous waste program, we'll go over that in a little bit. We have a more detailed breakdown of what the facility operations and everything look like there, but we have a good sense as to what all that costs now. And a lot of other stuff is running below where our general things are. Compost program, which we'll also talk about today. Haven't spent anything in that yet, et cetera. So, so far at the end of quarter 2, we've used up 28% of our budget, but we also have not got our reimbursable from the state yet on that. So once that comes in, we'll be much further ahead when we get our SWIFT grant money from the state of Vermont. So if you move on then, so that's effectively it for the quarter 2 report. If there's any questions, let me know. Like I said, I'll be sending this out ready for with invoices, and we can, yeah. All right. Since that's all set, then I guess we can move on to the third item, which would be our household hazardous waste facility. The facility expenses. We ended up spending for the season that we opened. So as I reported last time, we had 225 appointments. We had a period of 13 weeks that we were open. And our budget is sort of right on track to kind of where we thought we would be with that. We have $21,000 to operate the facility for the first 2 months of the season here. So we have plans to begin the next season on May 20th. And this remaining $21,000 will be operations for that time period. And then we switch over on July 1st into the new fiscal year, and we'll be operating on the budget that's approved at our next board of directors meeting after that. Disposal costs here are all have been again kind of about where we expected. I will do my best to keep as much disposal costs in the next fiscal year. If we can push pickups until after July 1st, then we can put that on the next fiscal year. Otherwise, we're in pretty good shape here. Labor, this is all the operations and labor costs here. There are some operations costs that are fit into this line, which are your there's some operations costs, a couple of little things, like I said, that were from that pushover, which was just getting some tongues welded onto our lift, and a couple of other small spending items like a hammer and some things like that. That's also been fit into operations, but almost everything here is effectively just our contract with Heritage, who is staffing the facility and then also collecting the waste. We also get all of our barrels and things like that from them, or most of them. I did have an initial stock that was brought in before we got there, but their prices are comparable to having somebody like New Pig or another, drum supplier drop stuff off, especially after shipping costs. So they're not raking their customers over the coal with that. So it's just simpler to sort of keep most of our equipment coming from there as well right now. And that's effectively where we're at there. There was a couple of items we wanted to talk about that came up last meeting, specifically about the number of days of operations and the amount of waste we were creating. After doing all my tallies this year, we figured out that there is a lot more waste that's being dropped off per household now. I'm not sure if those trends are going to continue, or whether that was just because we had a lot of highly motivated people who were interested in coming at that point in the season. But about 40% more waste is being brought per person than when we held events. So despite the fact that we have a lower capacity for number of households that we can reach, we'll be in the same range, I think, as far as the tons of waste collected at the end of the season, if that trend continues. Again, we had sort of a half season last year. It started on July 31st and it went until October 30th. So not sure if that's going to be an outlier or whether that'll just be sort of the standard trend, but it does appear that there are substantially more. There's more people are bringing more waste to the facility than they were to events.
I think what's happening is that somebody gets the appointment, and then their neighbor says, "Oh, can you take this?" And and their other neighbors and so forth, and that's why they're getting more per person. I'm pretty sure that's what's happening. And
I also imagine if you're driving down,
from I'm not
Dorset to Bennington,
10, 15 minutes up there. If you're going, would you mind taking it with me? Or I'll pay the $5 or whatever. And I think that's probably what we're seeing happen, and that's why you're going to see, the increased volume per person.
Well, I also people who were regularly generating, regular users who may have gone to 2 events per year are probably consolidating in their trips as well.
Yeah.
Where it's like, if I'm a regular user, I'm a gardener, and I'm generating some of this excess stuff, I'm gonna save this for my one trip per year instead of taking the time to go twice, and when I wouldn't want to store it as much. But I don't know. We'll watch that. That's definitely a good idea to watch.
And what is the fee that,
So we're only charging a $5 fee right now. I didn't actually include this in the facility expenses, but it is if you go to the,
is on page
if you go
six?
to page 6, yeah, it shows you that we just, and it was inconsistently collected, especially at the beginning. We do allow a cash check option, people to still register for an appointment and say they will bring cash at the time of the appointment. Most people do that. Occasionally there have been people who don't show up. I've told the guys, don't refuse them service if they don't have the $5, as sort of our general operation policy, but it is supposed to be a fee-based service, and they've agreed to pay it. It's also not something where I've had them track it. It's possible that this, season we can do that, and I can follow up with people who have, not paid a fee. We can make a note when we sort of keep our records on site at the time.
And the opening date again?
Yeah, so we I set it so right now we're scheduled to operate a 21-day season, which is substantially more than the 13 days we offered last year. And it is going to start on May 20th, and it'll be running through the second week of October. And similar to last year, there's a couple of days where it's not on a Monday, and those follow holiday weekends. So we will be, the Tuesday after Labor Day, the Tuesday after Memorial Day. I'm not sure whether July 4th this year was affected our schedule, but that's the way we're operating.
Do they keep track of the towns that participate, the people that,
Yeah, I've been keeping track of the towns that participate.
anyone showed up in Searsburg?
From Searsburg, we did not have any, no Searsburg residents did participate this last season, our first season. So,
Okay,
we will be specifically targeting that area of our service area with ads in the Deerfield Valley News and a couple things like that, and hopefully we'll be able to get the word out. We have at your transfer station, we have put up a
I was there when you
sign.
delivered it.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yep.
So,
Yeah, what we'll do, we'll work on some type of outreach, through the select board or through the town clerk.
You used to have a Sears book Facebook page. Do you have anything like that anymore?
Yeah, we do. Yeah,
Alright.
they
Because I
discuss.
posted groups and
Okay.
about events and things going on related to when the opening of the HHW facility is.
Yeah.
So if you want to message me or give it to me, I can make sure it's added to the messaging because I
Okay,
send it to all the other towns.
Normally it's road conditions and bear conditions.
Yeah.
It's
Equally sexy.
yeah, well, the bear takes care of her. Okay, good. But I'll let, I'll see what we can do.
Were there many folks or any folks from Sunderland?
Sunderland was 9% of our appointments were from Sunderland. Yeah.
I didn't know.
So,
I know we've talked about it a lot at our select board meetings.
Well, how about, I don't know,
town hall was 10% of our.
we're 9%, so yeah,
Yeah.
that's significant. It really is.
Yeah, and if you look at the town percentage of population there, yes. So. Yep, so Sunderland's only 3% of the total population of the county, and
Yeah.
you were 9% of our appointments. So great. Well, the word got out. Yeah, word got out. You got at least.
So 2 people went.
We say we have,
Cleanest spaces per capita.
yeah, our population is 96, so, yeah. I'll be able to get a hold of everyone in about 15 minutes, so that won't be a problem.
You ride a horse back through and just yell or what? I mean,
Do you have party lines there still?
Please, pigeons.
And I guess the other thing I hadn't noticed, in case, I didn't include any of the Q3 spending, even though we were not open during Q3. The reason why there is 3 quarters worth of spending on the facility expenses chart is because we had a number of things in storage. The last day of operations was in the Q2, but the lockers didn't get cleaned out by the Heritage team until January. It was all within 90-day EPA window for us to empty everything out, but it took some time to get that scheduled properly and
Thanks for the clarification.
Okay, and as for, like I said, the 2024 season planning, the only other thing I wanted to mention was there was a discussion last week. I mentioned last meeting that we had been approached by members of the Bennington Select Board to look into the possibility of having some potential Saturday services available. At this time, Heritage said that they will not be able to do that for us. At first, they said we could do it, but we'd have to pay the guys time and a half. So it would be additional labor costs. And then they looked at their sort of calendar again, and they said this summer would not be enough, but it's possible that in future years, you could contract with us to also do Saturdays at that time and a half rate.
We'll look at that going into the next budget, definitely, and see if we can tack one Saturday on like spring 25, something like that. So.
That'd be a good idea.
Great. So that's all the stuff about household hazardous waste facility at this point. Yeah, we'll be working on getting the word out. We have a meeting to talk about our advertising schedules and everything coming up beginning of next week with Paul and I. So we'll put everything together for that. Legislative updates. So just a little bit of a heads up on some things that have been happening at the state. Every few years, the state creates a new materials management plan. This is in advance of all of the solid waste management districts creating a new solid waste implementation plan. That new materials management plan will be in effect by the end of this calendar year. There's not a lot of material differences to that. There's one thing that's in particular that a lot of the solid waste management districts are trying to figure out how to navigate, which is there's a new requirement to have some level of to have a designated area outside of a flood zone inside of each town that is meant for materials collection in case of emergency management situations. That's something that many of my colleagues have been talking with the state about, trying to have that shifted to RPCs potentially, and not necessarily on us, because there's a lot of problems with sort of dealing with FEMA, apparently, if materials leave town boundaries, like leave the municipal boundary, and reimbursement and stuff like that. So a lot of the other solid waste districts that have dealt with this don't think that it's best for it to be something that is a larger scale plan for us to sort of be involved in. So there's some ongoing conversations about that, but largely there are a few additional changes. I think there may be something about a requirement for us to start taking vape juice and things like that, where we don't have that as a requirement right now. But some other additional things that may be requiring the household hazardous waste facility for us to take. And otherwise, a lot of it is similar sort of planning and things we can go over when we do our SWIP planning. The second thing is that there is a household hazardous waste extended producer responsibility law that passed last year. How that is rolling out is still also coming into effect. There was an attempt to get a management company to come and from the producers of various things like our pesticides and our soaps and things that can't get disposed in a landfill properly, to have some kind of a management agency similar to the way that the paint care program is currently run, to then but the state hasn't had a lot of luck finding the right person or the right group to manage the organization, to manage the EPR law right now. So they're still in flux on that. And there was and we gave some feedback to them earlier this month related to their initial plan, which was basically what's going to happen is when the new EPR law passes, it's going to change the way that we get our grant funding to operate the household hazardous waste facility from the state. One of my colleagues up in Addison County, he did the math and he said about 45% of the waste that gets shipped out will probably end up being reimbursable, based on their numbers. So I imagine it will be something similar for us. But how exactly all that is going to happen, and whether or not it's going to affect the quantity of money that's already given to us through the solid waste implementation plan grant making process, is still a little bit up in the air. So I can report more when the state has more details as to how those changes will be affecting us. Are there any questions? I know it was a little
On the materials management plan, you've mentioned trouble with FEMA, et cetera, et cetera. Is that something you could push off or hand to the emergency management directors of each town?
Yeah, I think that is what the
Okay.
that is currently what the solid waste management entities, we have a group that we pay membership dues towards, and that is our association, and that is currently the stance that we're trying to get the state to
Because
remove that and then have that just be something that is handled.
Absolutely the correct
outside of-
stance. So,
Yeah.
thank you.
They, through the state, they could deal with FEMA and everything like that. And it's one less thing you'd have to worry
Yeah,
about.
much more
Yeah.
adept at it too.
Oh, and
Yeah.
hazard mitigation plans are a much better place for having this site than
Yeah.
anything in our
Yeah, and
book. So,
yeah, and if it's something where we can just, if it's something that's already required in a hazard mitigation plan, and it's just something we cut and paste and put into our document, we're just make sure is
designate your site, go from there.
is updated regularly, or that we're available to assist in any way that we can, then that's a different thing. But for us to be doing any kind of site identification, it doesn't feel like that's necessarily.
No, that's part of the EMD, the course load when they go to the certification thing is, where do you cite things and everything?
Right.
So it's right up their alley. So.
So, I'll let you know if there's any other substantive changes coming in the future. But right now, yeah, those are two things, and they're both sort of up in the air. But I wanted to just let you know that those are potential changes in the way that we will be getting funding streams in the future. The next item is a compost equipment sale. So if you go to page 8 of our meeting materials packet. So the compost equipment sale, we've been holding since 2017. We had the same prices. I looked back at some of our old documents since 2017 for this one piece of composting equipment called the Soil Saver, which is a nice, hardy, thick plastic box that has the ability for you to get the dirt out the bottom and put more things on the top. And it's also got a big, wide top, so you can, go in there with your forklift and pitchfork and stir up all your compost and take care of it well. It's a good sort of general, simple household size one. And I wasn't here in 2017, but my assumption is that there was the lead up to the food scrap ban going into effect, and this was a way that the towns all sort of came together. It also seems that we used the same vendor from 2017 up until 2022 when we were able to get this good pricing on it, which was $48 each, that we then turned and sold for $52. Not very much of a price change there. We're kind of trying to break even and just provide the public with a service and pay for some of this with our labor. But the pricing went up greatly with that. Now, Bush Systems is no longer providing that. Last year, we did not order it, partially because I was doing the solid waste facility development, but also mostly because we had ordered a large amount in 2022, 72, almost double the stock that we expected to sell. And we did sell through that over the course of the 2 years. And we did have a number of people come in throughout last year. We just had appointments, people showing up to my office to pick them up one at a time. They're nice, they're flat pack boxes, they're easy to handle, easy to store, easy to give out. So I looked into other potential comparable products, and there was a couple of them on the market, but they didn't have as particularly good reviews. They're a little more flimsy. So the best ones that I could find of that type, the soil savers, again, the best price I could get was double what we paid last time, or more than double what we paid last time. And again, the retail price, if you go to any online store or anything like that, they will be paying still $150 to the public. But if we're going to be offering something for $100 or $110 that we sold literally 2 years ago for $50, I expect we, may not get as much, may not get as many people interested in doing it. So the other thing that I also found out while I was looking into this and talking to other people about what products they're selling is that about half of the solid waste management districts in the state have either quit and have decided not to, just sell out their existing stock, or they've just stopped the program as a whole. So this is something I think the state, again, I wasn't here in 2017 when this started, but I think it's something the state was encouraging local districts to offer to their citizens. But it's been a budget line item, a thing on the budget where we put, right now it's $7,000 into this line item, which we wouldn't be spending that much, and then we assume that we'll be spending that and giving that $7,000 back. So it's been sort of an even exchange as part of our budget, but it is something that takes up staff time. It is something that it takes some time to organize. It's something we put Paula to work on to make sure that folks understand that this is available, and we've actually worked with Dixie at Abacus Automation to have a nice pickup spot for the public to come and do these days where we can get a whole bunch of them out all at once. So we have the capacity to do that again this year. But the question is this a program that we are still interested in doing? Is this something that the board is sort of committed to continuing to provide this equipment at a discount cost, even if it's not as steep of a discount as it previously was? Still a discount, or is this something that we want to potentially consider not working in the next year's budget, or not continuing this program moving forward? The other thing that's to be known is we do still have a current stock. We are out of stock on the soil savers, which is the composter that I mentioned. But the other item that we have in stock is called the green cones. We have 29 of those in stock. They're all in the shed up by the transfer station next to the hazardous waste facility. Again, we have those, and I still sell, 1 or 2 of those a month. People come and randomly find the page on our website and find them and purchase them from us. So I imagine that they would eventually sell out if we did not have an event again this spring to have it. But I just kind of want to get a sense of what people's feelings are on this.
So I will immediately jump in and say, I don't think this is worth the staff time. I think it was a cool idea when the food scrap ban was rolling out. Now that the ban is mature, now that the program is mature, it sounds like a staff kind of something that drains resources for no reason, for a modest discount for the public, particularly at these higher prices. So I don't really see this as the best use of our time to facilitate, but I would love to hear what anyone else has to say on this.
Said almost half the state has already stopped doing it.
So it appears that there's only 7 of the swimmies that are still offering this, and I'm not sure how many of them are all continuing to sell their existing stock. So when I did a search of all the websites for stores and everything.
Sounds like the program's dying on the vine.
Well, we used to get what was like a milk run order. We would all collaborate our orders of the soil savers together. And then the company would come with an entire freight truck and then drop them off at the different locations throughout the state, so we could pool our resources to get better pricing. But there's nobody interested in doing it. So it falls back on us to initiate an order, and the pricing probably wouldn't be nearly as.
Yeah. Doesn't seem like it's a viable program.
I agree with Nick. Certainly.
Okay, so,
Are there any of the kitchen?
The buckets?
Yeah, buckets, so those, do you still have those
4
also?
gallon green buckets?
we have a,
two. I have two left.
we have a couple of those, but they were dog-eared. I think we got, the ones that we have left in stock were dog-eared from a grant specifically to go towards educational
Yeah,
institutions.
classrooms.
Yeah.
Classrooms during-
So again, we haven't been able to distribute all of those.
And those are also less expensive now than when we bought them last time, because for whatever reason, we're charging $14 and I can find them on the same website where we bought them for $5 now it costs.
Yeah.
And maybe.
An equivalent bucket at Home Depot is $5.
I
So,
sold one last year, and I got, it says two left. Not to get any more of those.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
Since
people
we're-
can buy them pretty easily.
Well, a lot of the people are going with the compostable bags. Yeah, because we deal with a lot of, I mean, there's a lot, we get tons of it. I mean, we get 5 big containers, you know, a week, just about full, completely full. They're about 400 pounds a pop. So,
Yeah.
we do a lot for a little town like that, you know.
Mhm.
But a lot of people are bringing these, you can buy the compostable bags, you can get them through Amazon, you can get them different places, you know. And as long as they're compostable, we allow it, but if they're just plastic bags, we don't, you know. Well, you see plastic in there, yeah, well, those are compostable.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And they're marked compostable, yours is not, so,
Right.
yeah. Dump it and throw the bag in the trash, it's right there, there's a dumpster right there, right beside it, you know.
Right.
It's not that hard. Yeah, so, I mean, this is how we handle it. We actually started composting a year before it was mandatory.
Hmm.
We started in July before that. And, so I mean, it's worked out very well.
Do you sell your soil?
Hmm?
Do you sell topsoil?
No, we take that.
You
that gets shipped.
you ship it out to, right?
So
Yeah,
to sell
let's
it,
collect
you-
it,
you-
yeah.
you-
Sell it to sell us
You
collect.
just collect it and you they bring it to the long drop facility or
Yeah.
the.
Yeah, we
behind
just-
the Bennington.
Yeah, we have some brush here. We got to get in there with the backhoe and turn it over. I bet you down at the bottom, there's probably some pretty good stuff. Cause it's been there long before I got here and I've been there almost 10 years, over 9 years. Excuse me, 9 years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so, since no one is, everyone seems to be in consensus here.
We
We'll
can strike that one.
we'll strike the event this year then, I suppose, and we
Just
will,
promote stock on hand.
we'll promote stock on hand. Yeah, and we can do that. Yeah, we can just attempt to sell out what we have as far as stock on hand goes, and then we will,
encourage people to buy
not include this,
online.
on next year's program calendar and in next year's budget. Okay, great.
Great.
Waste hauler compliance. So, we are, hosting a regional solid waste hauler meeting, with folks from the state who will be going, over, a number of compliance issues. They want to review state law expectations for haulers, and provide them with information on how to collect, everything that they're required to, let them know all the details of things, like when they are serving an apartment complex, they are required to also collect organics, and other things like that. I also want to work with the haulers while we have them all together, to try to bring them up to speed on all of our local, reporting and registrations and, all those other initiatives. So, not too long ago, Dixie sent me, a BCSWA haulers report form, from Sunderland, which, I've never received from any other hauler or any other town. And I've only been here for 2 years, but, I went back in my records and that's something that apparently you guys have hasn't been happening since 2019, otherwise from anybody else. So, yeah, I'm not 100% sure, what we were doing with that information. But we also have, each individual town has their own hauler registration system. And we are supposed to be getting that, that information, to us so that we can manage and let the public know, which haulers are operating in which towns and, what types of services that they provide. And so again, we're going to try to get all of that into a little bit more shape. Ultimately, we may want to consider what hauler registration looks like at the local level. Whether we want to have that be something that's not necessarily done at the town level and is sort of inconsistently done, if that's something we want to potentially have BCSWA do, or if we just want to register people and follow up with them in some way based on some pre-existing state hauler registration list, which is also a requirement. So in some ways, I feel there's already a state there's already a state registration list. And I don't, I'm not sure if there's necessarily a need to have an additional local list at each individual town level. So, but again, that's something that we can discuss and then see if there's any sort of way that BCSWA can help the towns all come into some consistency.
I would totally love to see a copy of that form if we could, like, potentially promulgate a standardized, get everyone in, have the hands on everyone for that same form that someone else is using. I certainly would love to see it and probably just copy paste it, something like that. I think we'd all benefit from kind of standardizing the way we deal with that, because then the haulers that have many towns will see it in a standardized way, and we will all be submitting to someone and having a reporting in a standardized way. That wouldn't be a bad idea, but and probably a pretty quick use of staff time.
The first thing you need is have an ordinance passed.
Yeah.
By the board.
Yeah, the fixed rate.
So we did that, I don't know how many years ago. We did this stuff, it was probably like 6, 7, 8, or something like that, but you have to have the ordinance passed and all this stuff, and then you can do it. And I send the things out, I get 2 haulers, the one never returned anything ever, and the other is Casellas. And I forgot to send it out because I had my operation and stuff. I usually do it in February when things are slow, and I wasn't working, so I'll get to that. If we get that in. Yeah.
Okay.
Because they fill that center right back. They have all the figures down. They get everything, so.
Okay, so again, I think that's maybe just a start. We'll see what the state is saying. We'll listen to what's going on there at that level. We'll report back, and it's possible that either it's something we want to build into our next iteration of the solid waste management plan, or it's some other sort of process. But at some point, I think the board will want to discuss how we want to move forward with it, and whether BCSWA wants to go to each town and sort of either standardize the way that ask the towns to standardize the way that they're doing it, or perhaps ask the towns to hand that responsibility over to the alliance.
It's already in the SWIP. Isn't it?
The hauler registration, you mean? Yeah.
Hauler registration is in SWIP.
It is in SWIP.
But yeah.
And I can say, I'll tell you right now, I've been, negligent on that, so.
Yeah, and again, it's not something that's consistent, but it's also not something that I have built into my calendar, so that I'm like, okay, every April 1st, I call the towns and make sure that they turn this paperwork in. So if that is something that we need to do, then I can.
There's also a hauler registration fee too.
Yeah, and there's a fee for that too, and those are, I think that's consistent across the towns based on the
It
SWIP.
is.
It's like
Yeah.
$20 or something.
$15,
Well,
$15.
Yeah,
it's
something.
like for Casellas, $50.
Yeah.
They had as many truckers they wanted, $50.
It depended on it was lower if you only had 1 or 2. If you're just a guy with a pickup truck and a trailer, it was a
But
lower.
those guys aren't filling out anything
Yeah.
else. They're not letting you know.
Yeah.
They're not registering. Yeah,
Right.
you won't find them registered for the state.
Well, that also reminds me then that if any of you can go into your local knowledge and let us know who are those guys with the truck, just have a pickup truck and that are doing the things. We're doing our best to monitor social media when people ask questions about who is around for haulers, like who they're listing that we don't have officially registered. But we want to invite all those folks to that meeting as well with the state, not just the folks who are registered. So if anybody has a beeline on knowing who is operating in their town that may or may not be, that is a small operation or a startup or anything like that. We also would like to engage them and try to get them involved and let them know here's the path if they want to grow their business, how to participate.
You're trying to get me shot. My first and last meeting. Thanks a lot, Scott.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's gonna be a problem.
Yeah. But the advertising value of this is also non-trivial of having it, like, having a website where you can say, I live in this town and who can I find? Maybe not in a town that small, but up in Sandgate or in some of these other towns, it might be really valuable to be like, to have a really good gauge on, oh, that guy actually might come up here. But
We have a full listing of all the haulers that we know of and the service towns that are towns they
Yeah.
service, so that it would bring them business. But if, we don't know who they are or whatever services they provide, it's kind of,
Yeah.
we'll say, I don't know, the people ask me, so does this person do this? I couldn't tell you, 'cause they're not in our files.
there's at least a little bit of a carrot.
Yeah,
I mean, you don't realize how many of them, not insured properly for what they're doing.
Right.
yeah, well,
Yeah, it's
yeah.
fly by
And
night,
and we're
so,
not here
yeah.
to enforce
Yeah.
that. That's not our
No,
meeting.
But
to
they're
make
they're
that
not,
decision.
they're not gonna come
No,
forward
I
anyhow.
know, yeah.
Just because that fact and state finds that, the state's gonna, jump down their
Yeah.
back and they're gonna work at it. But, yeah, that's like I said, the one guy's in Pownell, he's moved his stuff into Pownell, who was in Bennington. Moved his stuff into Pownell, he will not send me anything. He won't even pay the registration fee.
Mhm.
Same thing every year, beginning of the year. Like I said, this year I forgot to do it, so.
So, speaking of Pownell and haulers located in Pownell, there's one that's not gonna be located in Pownell anymore. That's not on the agenda, but I forgot to, but we probably just mentioned that the old TAM facilities, both in Pownell, and in, sorry, and in Shaftesbury are getting closed. This is after the acquisition of Two Bridges, a town that a large waste hauling company that operates on the New York side of the border. Has most of their operations in Half Moon, but I think they have some up in somewhere closer to the Vermont border too, not quite the Petersburg area. Maybe they have something in Berlin or something. So,
I know County Waste is over in Peter. I've seen their trucks over there.
yeah. So, Casella as a company has decided to, shift close the facilities here within Bennington County that they had also acquired previously when they purchased TAM. And now that's about 25 jobs that apparently everyone's been offered the ability to take comparable jobs. And Casella told me that everyone had been offered comparable jobs in Manchester and Rutland.
Last Thursday I was down
yeah.
there and that's not the
Okay.
case.
They're changing out all their
That's
dumpsters and they're using our town yard to stage the old and new dumpsters every day. The crews there told us they're out of jobs. The only reason they're finishing is they're being offered a bonus to actually finish the swap. Because we said, where are you guys going? They said, we don't know. So from the workers, they told us, they're out.
I went down there last Thursday afternoon and I spoke with some of the people in the facility down there. And they said, well, some people got jobs, some people don't, and we just don't, and they're really up in the air. They really are blindsided. They don't know what's gonna happen. And so I'll guarantee you they're not all getting jobs.
Yeah.
They can say what they want, but that's not happening.
Good for the crews that'll be eating up some CDLs that'll be they're desperately needed on the road crew side.
Yeah. So a lot of equipment's gonna have to go out of there.
So that is happening, and if anybody knows any haulers who might be interested in purchasing some pre-setup products, I don't know. Casella will be, I don't know if there's, Casella will be selling this competition, but
Where you gonna take it?
Yeah.
That's a problem.
so that's the state of some of the private hauling in the area. Okay, I guess we can move now on to the outreach and events update.
Okay.
I'd like to talk a little bit about some of our work we've done, starting with the landlord workshop that we had.
Yeah, we actually had, since our last meeting, another event, which was the recycling meeting that we had. There's a presentation at the Bennington Free Library in December.
That's right.
And that was attended by a couple dozen people, which was great. I was surprised how many turned out. They were very engaged. A lot of people brought things from home about how to get rid of materials. So That was filmed by Cat TV and has been posted on our playlist within our YouTube channel. And we also then put on a landlord workshop, which was helping landlords understand food scrap management on their facilities. The state has been coming through and doing spot checks or responding to complaints that they receive from would-be tenants or other people about the lack of food scrap diversion and recycling collection. So they did make a visit last November, but we had a planned presentation. We invited, I think we sent out 2 postcards to 162 addresses of landlords and property managers to invite them to the event, which was also taped. I think we had a total of 9 landlords altogether who were engaged, were concerned about potential non-compliance issues and what that means if they can't get their tenants in line. And I said, well, you got to kind of make it easy on them, and we help them understand what that means to give them the requirement is to provide access so somebody can divert food scraps, recycling and all that, and in a safe, helpful manner. So, and provide outreach on site if need be, training, that sort of thing. So we are going to continue to work on this because we know this is a real challenging area. Non-compliance is pretty high right now. There aren't a whole lot of facilities that I've been just doing spot checks of, just driving by and seeing that they're doing. So we need to continue to work on that. And the state knows too, that's a problem. We also did a Fix It Fun workshop, which was a first of future ones, hopefully, and not one we had done in the area in the past, but it is essentially a community-wide organization of fixers, volunteer people that have some skill to repair appliances, electricals, computers, clothing, lamps, any kind of fixing talent, and then pair that with people that need things repaired rather than throwing it in the trash. So the folks at the Bennington Free Library took the helm at this event and organized it pretty much entirely. We just supported them with some volunteer hours and a lot of promotion and a framework from other solid waste management entities who have hosted these in the past. And it was a good turnout, a light turnout, but we have grant money that they were able to obtain that will give an opportunity to do this again. And they're going to try and do that in November with a little more promotion, helping people understand what the event is like. I think there's a lot of confusion about what it is that we do. So that's going to happen in November. We have started doing outreach to schools by sending out a survey that goes to all 26 schools, asking them real pointed questions about how they're handling. This year, we're focusing on a lot of the hazardous waste areas, materials management within chemistry labs, hazardous waste within their cleaning chemicals, that sort of thing. Helping them understand, are they making the best use of the food in the cafeterias? Are they, sharing it or sending it off somewhere else if it's uneaten? And not perishable, but it's something that can be shared. Are they providing reusable utensils instead of throwaway materials? Since now we rolled back from COVID, where a lot of that was just stuff that was for safety reasons disposable. So we had 3 responses so far. I'm going to do another round of reminders and try to get more schools involved in that. We're also starting business outreach. We have a targeted list of businesses we're going to hit this year to reach our at least minimum of 40 businesses that we reach out to every year. And I've got a couple of drafts for newsletters that'll go out probably within the next few days, hopefully, to the schools, and general newsletter, which we have about 500 people in the newsletter list, and we get a better than 50% open rate. So that means people are reading what we're sending. So that's good. Get a 67% open rate from the school. So they are engaged in what it is we're giving them in the way of information. So do I miss anything?
Question on the Fix It, were there more fixers or
We had
fixies?
5 fixers and 15 items to be fixed by, I don't know how many actual people showed up.
Yeah.
They didn't come like with armloads of things. I think
No.
maybe 1 or 2 came with 2 items or something. But yeah, it was, and people said, this is, and then even afterward, because I would send pictures out on social media, they said, this is a great idea. They had not heard of it up until after the event. So there's curiosity about it, which hopefully will develop momentum.
So, the other thing that's nice about that though, is that the library did receive a grant to hold the event, and like you said, they didn't, use all of those funds, so, the plan right now is to hold another event in November, and, hopefully we can, get a much higher attendance rate, since people sort of hear about what they missed out on a little bit, hopefully.
Yeah,
We'll have some photographs that we can use in promotions so people have a sense as to what, what it looks like, and, yeah, we can potentially see if this is a viable program for future years based on our second attempt at getting it to work.
I would love to volunteer to be a fixer at the next one. if you-
wonderful, that's great, yeah. We're also,
That's all we
getting,
do at work.
that's
Fix
great.
stuff.
Yeah, that's wonderful. We'll keep your name in the hat.
Pack 300, cartons of ice cream,
Yeah.
not gonna happen at the Bennington Library.
We also are setting up our schedules for appearances at farmers markets, which will be in Dorset, Arlington, and Manchester this year. So we're making the applications and trying to get those dates. And I'm trying to lean toward the beginning of the month so I can do all the dates together in every given month. So I don't have to load and unload the car quite so often. So, but it's a good turnout. We try to post those, get people understand to come out and visit us. I also collect batteries from people that come in to try to just lighten everybody's load. So,
Good job. Next item is public comment. Do we have any public comment? I don't see any public here, but all right. Coming meetings.
What month are you thinking, Scott?
So, we've got to get, we would be doing it either at the end of May or the beginning of June. Since we have the facility opening on May 20th, it might be nice, and since we have a couple of things, including drafting the budget, to try to do that at the beginning of June. Maybe the 5th or the 12th, might be the right time to schedule that.
The 5th is always good. The first Wednesday of the month is always best for the facility or for the building. But
5 May?
Sorry, what's the date again?
June 5th.
Oh, June, not May.
Yeah, not
Okay.
June
Okay.
5th.
Okay, and that one, we're gonna have to have quorum, so I implore all of you to also attend. And we'll also make sure that, we get folks, Bennington and Manchester to show up as well.
And Nick, you're continuing to post us?
Yep, I will.
Thank you so much.
The Zoom link is being circulated right now.
All right, any other business? Anybody?
Oh, we should welcome Wayne as the new representative. Sorry, we didn't officially do that. So Lynn is no longer the new girl on the block, new kid on the block now. Now Wayne has joined us.
Yes, welcome.
And barring that, I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second,
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. We're adjourned.
Thank you.
Magic.
I'll be
Ma'am,
coming.
who do you
in
send
10
your
minutes.
stuff to?